So listen, check it out. Um, let me. I got the mayor's forum going on. Nothing's happening yet. He's just making some introductions. But I wanted to come on during the course of this forum to kind of give you some feedback and stuff about my thoughts on um, these forums that they're having. What effect are they really having? And I really want to hear what they have to say in terms of what kind of reforms they have made. So let's listen in. I'm going to do some technical stuff, drink a little bit of coffee, and I'm going to come back to you, kind of like I'm, commenting on a football game or something like that. I'm your Wolf Blitzer today, whatever you want to call it. Tell a friend, tell somebody that the bishop is on the air, that I am dealing with and talking about this police reform issue. Let's bring in what's happening here. As you can see right there, that's what the mayor has going on. Let's go into that setting right there, and I'm going to come back with you in a moment. Usually go on there and see there's a list of things that have done. So I don't want to go on any further. I'd like to turn it over to retired Chief Justice of the Massachusetts State Supreme Court, Judge Robert Ireland, for opening comments. Judge, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I want to welcome everyone who was with us today for this third public forum on police reform in Springfield. As I said in our last forum, for those who don't know me, I grew up in Springfield on Terrence Street. I am third generation. My parents and before them my grandparents lived in Springfield for generations. I attended the DeBerry Elementary School, Buckingham Junior High School, and Classical High School. So I'm a Springfield true citizen, and I love the city. I tell you that because when the mayor reached out to me and asked me to advise him on police reform, I couldn't say no. I couldn't say no because I felt I owed it to the that and is not denying it. There's also no dispute that the city has already made several changes in the now let me just interject right here. He said there's no dispute because of the Department of Justice report. However, when the citizens were coming to the mayor and the police department and telling them that brutality existed, they disputed it all the time. So how come it is when the FBI comes in, when the DOJ comes in, there's no dispute? But when the citizens that are getting abused tell you they're being abused, you dispute it all the time. of changes that are positive improvements. We're not finished, but we're moving in the right direction, and with your help, we will get there. So today, I implore you to participate. It's easy to sit back and criticize, but I'm asking you to be an active participant in this process because we need your input. And this is a golden opportunity for change if we seize the moment. So tell us your thoughts on how we can make the Springfield Police Department better. Tell us your concerns. We're here to listen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Allen. We're also joined by Police Board Member Albert Tranghese. I know that Sue Jackson, Paul Fiana, and Lee Jonathan too could be on. And also city councilors that are on, which I think we appreciate. And one last thing before I turn it over to my Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, Attorney Korea G. On the Office of Racial Equity, again, Chris Berry Gonzalez is the new office with the coordinator. We also have Brother Johnny Muhammad on board. He is on the streets to diffuse actions that are going on there. So we appreciate Brother Johnny, the mission which we brought on board to diffuse situations on the street and work toward better opportunities for those individuals. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Diversity Officer, Inclusion Officer, Attorney Korea G, and she'll lay out the ground rules. We did get a couple of email questions goes to her also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Justice Ireland, for the welcome. I also want to thank all the attendees for participating, as well as our Community Police Hearing Board members and those viewing on Facebook. I also want to apologize for the technical difficulties that you may have experienced during the last community meeting that we held, and hopefully this one will go much smoother. There are some changes in the way that you can participate in this meeting. So today, if you are an attendee viewing this on Zoom and you want to ask a question or make a comment, you can do that by putting your question or in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen next to the chat function. You can also raise your hand, and once you raise your hand, we will make you a participant so that you can come on screen and speak. And once you're a participant, at that time, you'll be able to turn your camera on and turn your phone on and be able to speak and participate. When you're moved from an attendee to where you can't speak to a participant to when you speak, there will be about a 5-second delay, and you'll see your screen saying that you're being moved. So it'll look like it's almost buffering. Like I said, it'll be about 5 seconds. So just let it run its course and then be able to come on. And then after you've made your comment or asked your question, you'll then be moved back to an attendee. And again, you'll experience that 5-second delay. So please do not get alarmed by that. If for some reason you get disconnected, please join back as an attendee, and we'll try to circle back to you. And if you raise your hand and you notice that your hand goes down, then raise it again so that we can make sure that we get to you and give you the opportunity to ask your question or make your comment. When you're making your comment or asking your question, you will have 2 minutes to ask, and we're doing that to just be respectful of everyone's time. I'll let you know at 1 minute and 45 seconds when your time is about to end, and ask you to wrap your comments up in the last 15 seconds. And again, we're just doing that so that we can be respectful of everyone's time and give everyone the opportunity to participate. And I appreciate everyone complying with that. Again, you have 2 ways of participating. You can ask questions live on screen, or you can use the question and answer function. And we already have one question in the Q&A function, so I'll go to that first. So this is a question from Mark Dorsey that says, has the Chief Justice ever spoken to anyone on the I think it means CPHD? And if no, why not? If yes, which one? Your Honor, did you want to answer that? I think you're on mute.
You're on mute, Judge.
Justice Ireland, I'm going to try to.
Yes, I've spoken to a number of people throughout this process, and I continue to do so. I have not spoken to a current member, but I've done a lot of research about the program and the process. I've reached some of those members and have not had an opportunity to actually have a conversation, but I've talked to a number of people about the system. People were on the board in the past, former members, I guess I should say, but not current members at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, the next question that we received from emails, in email form is, I'm just wondering, how will the police reform help families of unsolved homicides in the community? As a mother who's lost my 23-year-old son to gun violence in 2014, and his murder isn't solved, and so many other families have unsolved homicides of loved ones. And that question is from Juanita Bachelor, the president of MORE, which stands for Mother Overlooked Reaching Out Empowerment.
Thank you, Juanita. We work very closely with her. We appreciate the partnership. I don't know if Commissioner Clapton is going to say if I could say a few words on that subject.
Yeah, I think the subject of police reform itself wouldn't deal with the unfortunate cold cases we have. But I think the way we're structuring the command staff and the command staff meetings and the way that I think Captain Duda and Lieutenant Marucci have begun to reach out to more and other groups and discuss cases, I think a little bit more of a closeness has helped, and hopefully we'll bring those cases to the forefront so we continue to work on them. But the Reform Act itself and some of the suggestions by DOJ will directly impact it. But hopefully the overall changing of the organization of the police department is better and closer contact.
Thank you. And I also mentioned that our friends at Focus Springfield are helping us with the technical aspects of today. I wanted to them. And
No, thank you, Focus. Steve and Halfback and Brendan. Focus Springfield has been an integral part of us being able to continue government and meetings for the public. We can't wait. I can't wait to be amongst you personally. But we will defeat this COVID-19. Focus Springfield, you've been great. Thank you very much.
So Focus Field has made a comment to all panelists in the chat function, which lets you know how you can participate. So now we'll go to the attendees, and the first one that we'll call is Junior, I think that's Cheraham Rivera. I'm going to make you a participant so that you can participate. Junior, you're a panelist, so you're able to turn your camera on and your microphone on and ask any questions or make any comments.
Hello. Sorry, guys.
Hello.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good morning. How are you?
Good. My comments would just be, we really need police reform. I understand that you acknowledged that already. Basically, I was assaulted as a citizen of Springfield. You see how I have my nails done. I am an LGBT member, and police officers assaulted me on Main Street, and there currently is no police record of that. And I have attorneys working on that. But basically, we just need some sort of liability insurance for police officers, because they can't just say, oh, I got angry, I messed up, and then there's no accountability for them just because they're honorable police officers. You get what I mean? Because us as citizens deserve respect. We're paying taxes as homeowners, and you guys are about to put that up soon. And I have no issue with that with the city, but we just need more respect for the citizens. Like we like, if we have someone in my backyard, I have Ring cameras or something, I'm scared to call the police, because it's like automatically they want to like innate the person calling, or they want to look like what are you doing wrong if they're looking at what you're calling for, just because you live in an area that is low poverty, a lot of minorities. 01107 is my zip code.
See, that's what qualified immunity was about.
I went to Golden Elementary School. I love our Mayor Sarno. He in elementary school, he used to go a lot, and basically middle school, he also did a trip. He now recognize me now because I look a lot different.
The legislation that was before the Massachusetts legislature dealt with modifying qualified immunity, which is kind of what this person was talking about.
The last thing I want to anyone watching, don't discredit the people that are obviously sitting in that office.
Modifying.
Not everyone is bad. Like everyone is saying, not all whites are bad, all blacks are racist. You know what I mean? Not everyone is racist. We just have, like you guys said, good apples and bad apples. Let's make this better. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Unlike the song "One Bad Apple Don't Spoil the Whole Bunch," that's a lie. If you leave a bad apple, if you leave a rotten apple in a barrel of apples, the rot spreads. And so this whole notion, this whole narrative about a few bad apples, which Judge Ireland kind of pontificated as well, that's a misnomer. This is not about a few bad apples. This is about a systemic problem of racism, systemic racism, brutality, and corruption. So let's not get caught up in this. Oh, it's just a few bad cops. No, it's a bad system.
Sure, I'll read the second email we received, and this is from David Finkelstein. His email states, Mr. Baker, here's my question for the forum tomorrow. As I look at the wording from recommendation number 3 from the DOJ report, it is strikingly similar to the city's response to number 3. So my question is, what specific steps have been taken to ensure that civilian complaints are properly taken and that IIU officers use proper interviewing and investigative techniques in order to conduct meaningful investigation? I'll turn it over to maybe Commissioner Clapper to answer that question.
Yeah, Attorney G also could speak that. That's one, and then specific rule. So thank you for your work.
We made several changes to the internal investigation unit. We make sure that they attend all of the schools that are coming up. I don't hesitate to send them to training in regards to interview and interrogation and proper procedures to invest complaints. We moved the IIU to a much more accessible area, I think, at 299 Page Boulevard, a private parking lot that's secure, brand new offices, interview room. I have changed the structure of the IIU. I meet with the captain of the IIU on a regular basis. We go over all complaints received. We did take the advice of everything. There is a complaint form now online that you can fill out if there's an issue with an officer. You can mail a complaint in. You can talk to City Hall or the Springfield Police Department itself, or now 299 Page Boulevard. We handle every complaint seriously. We take looks at all complaints, anonymous and otherwise. They're thoroughly edited. We make sure that CPAB is involved most of the way for every outside complaint that comes in. They review. If necessary, they have a hearing. I have followed their recommendations, either met their recommendations or gone stronger on what they have recommended. There's a new IIU policy. It's in the works, and I'll let Attorney Brewer follow up.
So Solicitor Pakul and then Attorney G, and then maybe if we'll have a comment from the community police hearing board members or the parent and teacher training, if they want to say a few words, then we'll move on to other questions. Solicitor Pakul.
Thank you, Mayor. Can everyone hear me okay? In anticipation of the DOJ report coming out, we retained the services of PERC to have a review done and evaluate all of our IIU practices and procedures. And in response to that, we have implemented, I believe, just about all of the recommendations. And now we're in the process of the second phase, which is putting together a policy and procedure manual, all of which will be online. Each policy, including the IIU policies, are being evaluated. Again, we use PERC as a vendor, and our standards are with regard to the Massachusetts accreditation or certification process. So we're going through that now, and several of the policies have been finalized and published. The next in line is the IIU. We are close to issuing that. Again, it will very much track what is in the report that you've looked at. The other thing I'd like to say is I want to say that the CPHB has been very much upgraded with new members and new resources. One of them is this room that we're in and the technology that is made available. This is the or hearing room.
Now, let's just be clear. Let's be clear. The superficial things he's talking about, new members and a new room, what the hell does that have to do with the process of reviewing police complaints and holding police accountable? At the end of the day, the Complaint Review Board still is window dressing. It has no statutory authority. It cannot subpoena witnesses, and its recommendations are just that, ice to the commissioner. At the end of the day, the commissioner decides what to do in terms of all discipline, hiring, firing, and policies. So to brag that we got new members and an upgraded room, but there's no substantive changes, is absolutely ridiculous.
The commissioners of which ones they believe should have hearings, and then when after disciplinary issues, letters are issued by they're holding a hearing to sort through and make findings and recommendations as to discipline.
And could you just, the acronym of PERT, could you just say what that stands for, PERT, please?
I hope so. If I get this wrong, I believe it's Police Executive Research Forum.
And I'm going to turn it over to Attorney Leah G, who another one of her duties, I moved her over to certify the community police hearing board. She's done a wonderful job, and she could speak to this too, and then maybe a couple of brief comments of Commissioner Taylor and Commissioner Chinese, who like to say a few words, and we'll move on to other questions.
Sure. So, as I said in the last meeting, the community police hearing board is made up of 9 members who review each case. They review cases in teams, and their review of citizen complaints really go in depth. They really look at, what it is that the citizens are complaining about, and also other things that the citizen may not complain about, but that as a citizen of Springfield, because they're all citizens of Springfield, they take issues find problematic. And in addition to that, they also made recommendations about policies and things of that nature, which the Internal Investigation Unit or myself communicates to the Commissioner's office. And the Commissioner has been great in implementing recently some of those recommendations. And one of those recommendations that I'll just talk about very briefly is how citizens are when they come to the front window at 130 Pearl Street to make citizens complaint. The Community Police Hearing Board had a review where that was an issue. And so the Community Police Hearing Board recommended that the Commissioner's office speak more to the officers at the front window about how they are handling those citizens, as well as how fast they're getting a supervisor to take in those complaints. And so the Commissioner made some changes, which I'll let the Commissioner speak to.
Sure, that's part of the training of everybody at the front window. I'm trying to emphasize that a lot of contact is not with all of the officers. It's usually the first person you see when you walk in the lobby, the front window officer. And then the public is going to react. And if there's a bad interaction there, it's not for them. So we've been working on that. We have signs posted right in there for the front window officer to see what steps they take when someone comes in with a complaint. Make sure it's answered promptly and make sure that a supervisor is notified right away. And I will also tell you that I have also created an inspection and audit division. They are doing internal checks for me all the time. And I have brought officers up on discipline internally that we have discovered. It's not from an outside citizen's complaint, but we have discovered issues within the department. I take them seriously also, and I have brought them forward, and there has been discipline.
Now, let's just keep in mind, she's talking about how she takes things seriously. There is an officer who was convicted in September for brutalizing a 14-year-old black boy at Commerce High School and lying on the police report. He was convicted. He's still on the police force. She has not moved to suspend him. Of course, she recommended a hearing, which they haven't had yet. But the fact that she could immediately fire a Latino woman for posting something on Instagram in support of Black Lives Matter, but she can't fire a police officer for brutalizing a black boy in the school and lying on the police report, tells you exactly how seriously these complaints and police misconduct.
And then I just, if you want to give an opportunity.
Yeah, Attorney Chief, thank you. I don't know if Commissioner Tranghese or Commissioner Chair would like to say a few brief words on this. Of course, Judge Allen could chime in anytime he'd like, but I don't know, Al or Linda, any other commissioners that are on, might want to say just a couple of words pertaining to your the important positions that you're on. Al, Commissioner Tranghese, and then we'll go to Commissioner Karen.
I unmuted, am I on?
You're unmuted.
I just like to state to the citizens it's important because obviously I'm one of them. You have 9 fellow citizens on that board who care about the city and want to see things keep improving. And to tell you something very positive, you have a commissioner who listens to everything we say, which is representative of the community. You have a mayor who doesn't interfere in any way politically with this board. Whatever we come to a conclusion as 9 people, 9 citizens, they do everything they can to implement.
I got to come in here, y'all.
To pass that along.
Let's be clear. They're calling on members of the Complaint Review Board, basically to give a glowing review of the work of the Complaint Review Board, of the commissioner, and of the mayor. It's not about the people on the Complaint Review Board. It's not about whether they're citizens who care about our city and that kind of stuff. No one ever questioned the individuals. Of course, they're going to come on and they're going to say glowing things about the mayor. It's about the fact that the Complaint Review Board is not what we need. It's not true citizen review. You have no statutory authority. You cannot set policy in the police department. You can't hire, you can't fire, you can't discipline. The only thing you can do is make a recommendation to the commissioner. And every complaint that comes up, you don't even get to review. So this ain't about whether or not we got 9 citizens that are good people and they care about the city and all of that kind of stuff. Attacking a corrupt system is not attacking the people on the Complaint Review Board. Let's be clear about that, because that's the narrative they've always tried to paint, that when Bishop Swan and others attack the integrity of the Complaint Review Board, they're attacking the people on the board. That's just not true.
And Ann, you're now a panelist, so you can turn on your camera and your microphone and ask your question or make your comment.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
When I read your recent response to the DOJ report.
All right, we gotta kind of reboot their feed because it kind of froze up after the last person who spoke. So we're gonna try to get that live again. Get you back in the mix.
We don't put
There we
things
go.
in writing and we need to. What has changed from July to now regarding accountability measures for officer discipline?
Thank you, Ms. Landry.
Thank you. And I'm going to make you an attendee again, so again, you'll have that little delay.
Thank you.
Ian, thank you for the question, and I will tell you that accountability has increased immensely, and most of it is due to the body-worn camera program. The body, even officers in plain clothes, except when they're making undercover.
Now notice here
talking to informants, and that has been a big
that,
accountability.
and this is the farce of it all. Notice here that the
supervisors they work for, and then
that the people are allowed to ask a question, and then immediately they are put back to attendee status, and then they go off and give maybe an answer, maybe not an answer, but they don't engage with the person. The person doesn't get to do a follow-up question. They don't get to ask for clarity. They get sent back to be an attendee. Okay, you asked your question. Bye-bye. We're going to answer it any kind of way we want. It's insane. It's insane. Let me bring my man D Moss in here, who's going to help me moderate this thing. What's going on?
Hey man, what's happening, brother?
What's going on, bro?
Well, I'm in shock, man. I've been following the news, man. I didn't know this was happening. So was this announced?
Yeah, it was announced. They sent out a blanket invitation to folks. And, you know, so this is another one of their forums. And basically they try to pretend like it's a different format because they're using the webinar function of Zoom and bringing people on as panelists to ask their question. But then they're kicking them back down to attendee where they can't talk or anything as soon as they ask their question. So there's nothing much different about what they're doing now than before.
Well, it's the same game plan. I know the game plan they had when I was there was to do just that. Basically, they're going to do all the talking. Dominic is going to take the lead, and they're not looking for any answers. What they'll say is they'll respond to anyone they can't get to. They'll send everyone a response, and it's not going to happen because once it's over, they move on. I mean, that's what's been done. That's what's going to continue to happen. If you listen to the strategy, most of the responses that they're given are pre-prepared responses.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hear this garbage that the commissioner's talking about.
And that'll be a big accountability factor for these officers.
Yeah, thank you for your question.
Solicitor Papu, anything else to add to this, Landry?
Very briefly, as the commissioner noted, the inspection and audit part of the accountability that ties in with the internal affairs process in that this audit unit, like an audit, takes a sampling and looks at things, whether there's a complaint or not, to try to make sure that we're enforcing the standards of accountability we want to make. The other thing I wanted to notice, she mentioned the body-worn cameras. One of the things that she has instituted is looking at our injury to prisoner reports and tying those reports to the body-worn camera. Again, part of this upgrade with regard to records management. And that has already occurred. The other thing in that area with the vendors that we are looking at is with the record management, what's called an early warning system. And that's software that will automatically pop up to us situations that we have to look into. But in the meantime, the commissioner has really stepped up her communications with the internal affairs or internal investigating unit to keep track on her own of what complaints are coming in on a regular basis, I believe weekly. And from her standpoint, I know I've seen situations where, hey, why are we getting another rudeness complaint from this individual? Is something happening in this?
Now while he's talking about that, D.
Yep.
Earlier on there, the commissioner talked about how she takes things so serious, and she was talking about talking to the people at the front desk about how they talk to people, yada yada. And here, Pakula's talking about how the commissioner is upset about rudeness. Now, my thing is this: we've got an officer on the force who was convicted in September of brutalizing a 14-year-old black boy and lying on the police report. Now, she got rid of Officer Fuentes, a Latino officer, for a social media post. Okay, fired. But the cop who beat the 14-year-old black boy in our schools and lied on the police report is still on the force. But you want us to think you're all up in arms about rudeness? If you ain't up in arms about people abusing little black boys and lying on police reports, how the hell are we supposed to believe that you're up in arms about rude cops?
Anybody who believes it is absolutely crazy. This is the same woman in an argument in the office who told me she brought, the officers she brought back. She said, these kids have families. If you're not upset about what took place at Nathan Bill's and you've seen absolutely nothing wrong with it, matter of fact, her response to us in the office was, you should be worried about the crime with these young black men up in Mason Square. Why are you worried about what cops I bring back? So if that's her attitude, she's not worried about rudeness. Come on, man.
Let's listen to Judge Ireland for a sec.
All right.
Okay, I thought we were going to listen to Judge Ireland. I guess not. I guess they cut him off too. I don't know. They said he wasn't window dressing, but he's dressing the window pretty well right now. Let's get this next question.
So you can turn on your camera and your microphone and ask the question and make your comment. Your volume's really low.
Your volume's low. Can you hear me now? Yes. All right. Okay, sorry, my phone is an old phone. I want to thank you very much for accepting me into this meeting, first off. And I want to say I am so blessed. And the first gentleman that spoke about who was assaulted, I'm also a same kind of guy. And I am a veteran. I am OEF, OIF. I have served 9/11, and I have lived in this state of Massachusetts for many years now, and have become a Massachusettsian, or how you would say citizen. And I live in Springfield, right down the street from the police department, actually. And my main question is, I have never in my life had to deal with police before in such a manner where I've been falsely arrested, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And even my lawyer, attorney Scott Skolnick, told me to be careful what I say because it might be used against me. His own court cases coming, and I understood his heediness to me being here. But I just wanted to ask a question that's so serious. What will it take to get any badge?
My main goal will be
to get run against your civil rights to be certified. And that's my main question, because once my court case is over, my main goal will be to get as much help as I can to get these police officers that have done what they did accountable for what they have done. Thank you. Thank you for your service, first of all, for our country. Appreciate that. I don't know who's any whether it's just the tool on that or clarified at all.
In terms of that's a terminology that I think is utilized in some of the new legislation that's coming through that's looking to certify officers at the state level to give them sort of a license. So that is something new and coming, and I'm not fully briefed on how that, what the status of that. But in a regular fashion, I think that's everything we're talking about here with the CPHD, with the commissioner, and the efforts that are being made, whether it's a citizen complaint or not. We're trying to deal with it. I don't know, Kamal, if you have any citizens complaints pending. I'm not going to ask you that, but I just want to make sure that you're aware of the. I understand you have some cases pending that you're working with your lawyer. I would be more than helpful to talk with Scott Skolnick. I know Scott Skolnick well, and happy to do that.
Thank you, Sister Kamal. Thank you, Kamal.
So D,
Yep.
once again, they didn't answer the question. So
No, they didn't.
Dude wants to know how are we gonna handle what we're gonna do about these rogue cops that are abusing our citizens, and they tiptoed through the tulips. That didn't give an answer. And I'll be happy to talk to your lawyer offline. What kind of answer is that?
Right. Where's the public transparency? It's not there. It's been non-existent. It's still non-existent. The question someone needs to ask is, what is the process when they turn in police complaint forms? How far do they go? Who do they get turned over to? And then talk about the amount of time it takes for someone to respond to each and every complaint. Typically, they sit in the office for days, weeks, once we turn them over, unless, of course, one of us sends it directly to the commissioner.
Let's get this question.
Where are those procedures written down? Or you said that there were specific steps taken to deal with citizens' complaints. There are new procedures. Where are those procedures written down, and how can citizens get access to those written procedures?
Thanks, David. I think as Attorney Pakula said, we're probably a week or two away from finalizing that new internal investigations unit policy. As soon as that's signed in, I believe that city will post it on their website. The police department will post it on our website. You can go online now at the city website, the police department, and if you have issues now, you can file online a complaint, which is new. We are located now, the Internal Investigations Unit is at 299 Page Boulevard. The large sign outside says Springfield Police Training Facility. On the right side, it's all Internal Investigations Unit. You can call them, you can call the mayor's office. It's all, we're trying to be more user-friendly. We're training the front windows officers, but I think you get a lot of information as soon as that new IIU policy comes out and we can post it up. Right in?
Yeah, David, I'd just like to add, the IIU report that was done by PERF has the recommendations, and that describes many of the recommendations which have been put in place. As to the specific ones we have put in place, we have posted online a recent letter to City Councilor Whitfield, which describes some of the practices that have been put in place while we are finalizing the written policies. And as I indicated, the IIU is on deck, and as the commissioner said, that will be coming the next few weeks. But so I would direct your attention, if you're looking for stuff in writing, that you look at that IIU report that has been placed online. That's done by PERF. I would ask that you look at the letter to Councilor Whitfield, which summarizes in writing the steps that have been put in practice, and also stay tuned on the IIU finalization.
Do you have?
How long have they been working on this IIU?
Oh God, about a year and a half.
I mean, what is taking them so long to figure this out?
Only time they address it is when they have these forums. So it's hard to tell. Other than that, there's really no move. There's very little movement until they have these Zoom conversations. And I'm not saying it because they let me go. It's the truth. And these are conversations that we had in the office before when we asked for updates on anything regarding the IIU. The hearing board, we get the same standard responses in the office. So nothing has changed.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk, a lot of pressing, as they say they're not doing.
And they're doing it now.
They're doing. Let's see what this
question has been involved in that accident down on.
The commissioner knows something that bothered me. I recently was trying to be helpful and call into dispatch about a red car that could have been involved in that accident down on West Street where I believe it was a pedestrian was hit. And when I called in, and tried to get the dispatcher to help me since I was driving. I couldn't be looking at the Facebook page for the traffic number they had said to call. And the dispatcher said they knew nothing about the police looking for a red car, and he was going to switch me to some main desk. And then the main desk phone number rang so long that some automated thing came on and said there was a problem with the phone system, and they were going to try and reconnect me. And again, continued to ring so long. And it's just hard to be a helpful citizen when you can't, when dispatch doesn't even know what's going on, it seemed, and when the phone system is not working.
Thank you, Ms. Newman.
Thank you for your comment.
All right, y'all gonna answer her?
City Councilor Tracy Whitfield, they're making a panelist, so you can ask the question and make the comment.
Forum. I want to thank
Thank you very much. I put the question in the chat, but I don't know if it was going to be read or when you go to the question and answer forum. I want to thank Mayor Sarno for hosting another meeting for the community. I want to thank everybody who's there for participating. And thank you for the letter and the perf information that you sent to the council. Definitely appreciate it. So my question is more about the civilian complaints. I wanted to know if there's any follow-up with the individuals that file the complaints. Like, do they get an email? Do they get an updated status on when they may be notified of an update or anything like that? And secondly, I wanted to know if all civilian complaints go to the CPHB.
Thank you, Council Whitfield. Thanks, Tracy. Who'd like to go first on that? You want to go first on that?
Sure. So,
33, please.
sure. So, the citizens complaints
do parts of the investigation.
So
After
your TV
either by the internal investigation unit or by a captain.
Down now.
Okay. So even though Tracy Whitfield is a sitting city councilor, they pulled her up to ask a question, kicked her back out to an attendee. No exchange of conversation, no opportunity to ask for clarity or follow-up questions or interaction, not even with a sitting city councilor. So it's just, come on up, ask your question. We'll answer it however we want or not answer it at all, and you're done.
Yep.
See, I think that answers your second question. How do you know it answers her second question? Can she tell you that it answers the question or not?
It's interesting because you have someone explaining who doesn't have a relationship with the commissioner, which is interesting.
In that process that I just
but we'll talk about that later.
And after
right.
the complaints are investigated, after the complaints are investigated, the internal investigation unit will send a letter to the complainant and let them know of the disposition.
You're right, Pamela Grayson. It is a dog and pony show.
An attorney from labor relations or someone from the internal investigation unit may contact the person to speak to them about participating in the hearing. And then after the hearing is done, again, the internal investigation unit will contact them and let them know about the disposition of their complaint. Either the CPHB found that there was a violation of the rule or that they did not. And in addition to that follow-up, I've been told by IAU officers that in addition to that follow-up, they may also call a complainant and go over the process with them and sort of explain things to them at that time. And then I know Commissioner Clapper was adding.
That's about sums it up. Counselor, also, it's standard, and we've checked with other departments and other agencies, and the follow-up letter to describe or to give a disposition is what most departments do. And that's what we've decided, unless, obviously if they call us, if they call the IIU or the investigator, I've instructed them to give them information and updates Otherwise, it would be standard to send that person who complained a letter with the disposition and what we found and what we did.
Thank you. That answers it. I just wanted to say thank you for the information.
Oh, I'm
when
shocked.
put in the online complaint, do they get an automatic?
I'm shocked. They actually kept her in there and let her follow up.
So folks know that it's actually been received.
Yes, they do, Councilor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I am shocked. Well, I guess you have to be a city councilor in order to do that. Everybody else gets kicked out.
Either refer them to contact the mayor's office or the commissioner's office or the internal investigation unit, or even myself, and we'll make sure that we can bridge the communication gap.
Thank you, Councilor Wood.
Perfect. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
Councilor Wood, I'm sorry I moved you to an attendee as you were in the middle of speaking. I apologize. So I'll go to the answers now. Our first question is from Holly Richardson, who says, "Good morning, everyone. The city of Springfield has paid out millions to compensate victims of felony misconduct. Wouldn't it be a wise cost saver to employ personal liability?
They just paid $6.5 million to a brother wrongfully incarcerated for 27 years.
As both a way to target officers who are priced out of their policy due to too many claims, thus then being in violation of the condition for employment, and second, as a cost saver to the city, especially as we are in an economic crisis due to the pandemic." And I don't know if this is or I can think about it as well.
Hello, Holly. Thank you for the question. You should know that within the law department, we work to evaluate claims the same way as an insurance company, and work with our counterparts in the finance department as we discuss the risks and exposure to taxpayers and make determinations of how best to handle this. Part of that process includes review of the availability of insurance. From time to time, we have reached out to look into whether we can purchase insurance. Your particular question or comment, as I understand it, is not so much the city having insurance, but requiring officers to individually have the insurance. I'm not sure if that's a model that has been tried anywhere else. I think it's worth looking into, but I think that ultimately the financial burden would be placed on the city. I don't know whether we could legally pass that on as a burden to the officers. Again, I think that a lot of the reforms that they're looking at legislation, particularly with this decertification.
Now, see, that goes to the quality immunity that was proposed in state legislation that the police unions fought against, and that many of our legislators punked out on. Mostly Democratic legislators punked out on, buckled under the pressure of the police union to modify qualified immunity.
I don't think that's something that's workable in the near future.
The only other thing I was going to add is that there's also the union aspect of all of this. So it will be a mandatory subject of bargaining, and as well as civil service law would also be involved in all of that. In addition to what the city solicitor for Kula has stated. The next question is from Tim Allen. I'm sorry, Mayor. The next question is from Councilor Tim Allen. He's asked, "Did you introduce everyone in the room?"
We did in the beginning, but I'll do it again. Commissioner Clapton.
Is that really his question?
Yeah, that was someone's question.
Are you officer new office coordinator?
The new office coordinator, Chris Mary Gonzalez, is here. And way in the back with that gingerbread, great Christmas sweater there is my and our Dr. Anthony Fauci, Commissioner of Health and Human Services, Ellen Calder.
The next question is from an anonymous attendee, which
Wow.
the department to address the systemic racism directly? Are there mandated trainings surrounding racism and LGBT?
I want to hear the answer to this question, but I'm like, wow. City Councilor Tim Allen's only question was, did you introduce the people in the room? Nothing about police reform at all. Just introduce everybody.
For reasons. First of all, we still hire 1 for 1. So for every white candidate, we hire a minority. We've been doing that for years. How long have we been doing that? Years.
Yeah, 70s.
The whole department is affected by that, I would say. And also,
Now let's just be clear. Let's be clear. That whole 1 for 1, hiring 1 for 1 is not a policy that came into being, she just said, since 70s under Swan, and it wasn't the 70s. It was later than that. It was a lawsuit that was filed by the NAACP that brought a consent decree for them to have to hire 1 to 1. So this is not because they're altruistic or they're concerned about diversity. They're under a court order to do that.
Right.
2 or 3 years, so all officers go through that. And of course, if I saw an issue or a problem that I thought systemic, I don't see systemic racism in the department. We're gonna have
What?
What the?
we have in the past.
What the hell?
Mostly around.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Did she say? I could barely hear. I'm listening. Did she say she doesn't think there's systemic racism in the department? Is that what she said?
Oh, let's finish hearing her. Hold up.
As you can imagine, in this day and age, we're trying to get the best candidate to do this job. Very good. But we've also tried now to ask tough questions before they come up. And that would have to do around to begin with. Trying to get the best candidates to do this job has been very difficult. But we've also tried now to ask tough questions before they come on. And that would have to do around use of force, partners' use of force, and their equal and fair treatment of the people they deal with.
Okay. So, listen. She said, actually said this. I don't see systemic racism in the department. Now, see, ladies and gentlemen, this is why the NAACP, this is why me, myself, and others have called for that if the city of Springfield, let me turn them down, because y'all need to hear us talk for a minute. This is we have said, this is why we have said that that if the city of Springfield is going to be serious about police reform, that the first thing they have to do is get rid of Commissioner Cheryl Clapprood. This is not the first time she has said that tomfoolery. I have it in writing. She said to me, Bishop Swan, we don't have a problem with police brutality.
Yep.
5 days later, the Department of report came out and said, you got a problem with police brutality. She stood at a press conference with Mayor Sarno and said, we're already working on the problem of police brutality. How the hell can you work on the problem of police brutality when 5 days before that, you said it didn't exist? She just said in front of the whole city, I don't see systemic racism in the department. Yet you got a DOJ report that says it's there, that says your officers routinely crack brown people upside the head. And here is the commissioner of police telling you in no uncertain terms, we don't have an issue with systemic racism. And Sarno wants us to think that they're taking seriously instituting changes for police reform, but at the head of the department is a white supremacist who says systemic racism ain't an issue.
Yeah. Wow, bruh. Some things leave you speechless, bruh. She just said it out loud. Insane. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my words together, brother. I'm digesting that still.
Oh boy, this is absolutely insane. Just to let you all know, we're going to be doing a digital press conference at the end of all of this, along with the Pioneer Valley Project, and we're going to get more into that. But that's crazy. Let's go back and listen to this foolery.
I was in high school, and she doesn't want to say that, but she's doing that for me too. We have young men and young women go, hey, we want you. We want you to come work for us. So.
And I should also just mention, when police officers and firefighters are being hired on, if you are a Springfield resident, you're getting preference. So generally, I don't know about police, but in fire, they're usually not hiring the people that are not residents. And I'm sure they go through residents first. Yeah. They're going through residents first. And so it's important to note that we're definitely recruiting, 99% of our recruiting efforts are in Springfield, looking for Springfield residents. The next question is from Junior, who asked, why do they have the option when to turn on and off? And I think you're referring to the body worn camera. Why do the officers have the option to turn the camera on or off?
They really don't have the option. It is directed by policy. The policy is pretty stringent in that it tells the officers when those body worn cameras will be activated and when they will not. And I will tell you, they will take that policy very serious. There have been some discipline actions lately. At first, we allowed a lot for retraining, but now everybody should know what's going on. And I think we're showing them how much the body worn camera helps them in many situations. So there is an automatic turn on switch now in all the cruisers. The blue lights go on, the cameras are activated. And they are instructed to leave those cameras on unless they're in a place that deserves privacy and people have asked for privacy, like a private home with no disturbance going on, a hospital, or there's some HIPAA laws we got to pay attention to. They do not turn the body worn cameras off until after the event has ended and they are back in the cars. The policy is pretty strict. I have, like I said, already disciplined for non-adherence to the policy. And I would say that if I have 480 cameras out there, I have 469 that are working within the policy. So we'll get the others on board, and it's not allowed as an option. They're specifically directed when to turn those cameras on and when they can turn them off.
Just to let you know, I did do the 15 and 21 foot simulation. With an eye opening. An officer, he or she can do the same thing at 21 foot, do the same thing at 15 foot, and they're going to be put with armor, God forbid, killed. So these body worn cameras, again, push for these since the retired commissioner Bill Fitchett. And I'm glad that finally the commissioner properly said we're able to get in. Because two things. It lets the officers know they're on. It also lets the individuals they're interacting with know they're on. And that could spell out what occurred or what did not occur moving forward.
Thank you, Mayor. And there was another question that was actually in the chat, and that question was, what is the city doing to keep our officers safe during COVID, such as testing? I don't know if the commissioner wants to speak to that.
Sure. We have, ever since the beginning of COVID back in March, we made sure that our officers had enough personal protection equipment. They are all carrying now enough masks. We have the N95 masks. We have enough latex gloves, and they have goggles. Through our health department, Commissioner Carlton, we have been updated daily on addresses where there are other positive COVID patients may be staying. So as the address is given out for the call, The dispatcher also reminds them that this is a high-risk residence, meaning that someone is positive there for COVID. The officers should use their protection. Obviously, it's a job that we can't alter or change to be COVID safe. So I have had many officers test COVID positive. I think at this point in time, I probably have had 100 officers that have somewhere along the line tested positive for COVID. I think we kept the spread down and manageable, and we've been able to work with it as officers come back. Maybe another officer will go out because we've taken such steps inside the station. Thanks to Pat Sullivan and facilities, the station's being cleaned daily. If there's a positive within the station, it gets cleaned thoroughly, the area, before anybody's let back in. We have a company that comes in and professionally cleans the cruisers. In between the cruiser cleanings by the company, the officers are instructed to clean the cruiser before their shift and after their shift. And one of the biggest things that we've done, and I don't think it's popular with the officers, they like having somebody ride with them, but we've gone to one-man cars. So the officer is by himself in that cruiser, and if he takes the transport, then he knows he needs to get that cruiser thoroughly cleaned. So I think through our partnerships here with the city and through everything that we've been advised to do and we have been doing, I think we've kept it manageable. I think we've kept the officers as safe as I possibly can during these trying times. And I thank the mayor and everyone for making sure that all the first responders have had enough personal protection equipment to do their job safely.
Yes, another question that was in the chat, and we just asked that you put the questions in the Q&A section. Another question that was in the chat though was, can you please explain what the letters stand for when you use them, i.e. CPHB? And I apologize for that. That stands for the Community Police Hearing Board, which reviews all citizens' complaints that are filed by citizens alleging that police officers have done something incorrectly. And again, those complaints can be filed online at 299 Page Boulevard with the Internal Investigation Unit in the mayor's office, as well as other places around the city. All right, so the next question is from City Councilor Tim Allen. What are the main points of the body worn camera policy? I think
it's an extensive policy, Tim, that maybe we should, is it online, and do you know?
I'm not sure, but maybe that's something that we could do a follow-up session just on body worn cameras.
It's so extensive.
Yeah. That might be a good topic for a separate one of these.
They can operate them when they turn them on, when they turn them off, the daily operation of how they should be charged, when they be charged, who you notify that you're recording, and when you have to turn them off, and when you don't have to turn them off, and the footage is uploaded. One of the main points of the camera program that most people don't know is there's absolutely no officer can alter, destroy, or interfere with the recordings once they are made. They're stored in that camera, and then when he or she backs that camera, it goes to a cloud service, and that cannot be altered. The only thing the body-worn camera unit in records can do is we can or distort people's faces if need to be, if that footage is going elsewhere in the department. And juveniles, you don't want to be seen. Victims of crime, you don't necessarily want to be
Hey
seen.
D, here's something funny.
We can work on things like that, but as far as altering, destroying, or deleting that footage,
Go for it.
They blocked my ability to comment as Bishop Swan under my public figure page. They blocked my ability to comment on their live.
Are you serious?
I guess my comment must have upset them. So now I can't comment. I'm a citizen of the city.
Right.
Born and raised.
Now, are they allowed to do that during an open meeting?
That's my point. Born and raised in this city, own a home in this city, raise my children in this city, pastor a church in this city, and president of the NAACP, and I can't comment on a public forum about police reform because they don't like what I say.
Wow. Wow.
That's absolutely insane.
Wow. You want to talk about controlling the narrative?
Right.
You
But
want to
then
talk
they
about
want us
controlling
to
the
think
narrative?
that this is not about controlling the narrative. Crazy.
Errors in and of itself, they come directly into there's a system in place, and I think there'll be more explicitly sprinkled out for you.
Wow.
I do it through it. Is done, which is full of 17 comes.
Yeah, I think they're right.
Little errors in and of itself, they come directly into me and it's dealt with internally. So there's a system in place, and I think it'll be more explicitly printed out for you when the new IIU or internal investigation unit policy is done, which, as Attorney Capullo said, will be in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. I think that's supposed to conclude. Sponsor a couple of words on this.
Yeah, if I may, the handling of citizen complaints really starts with the mayor's executive order. The mayor has placed an executive order that created the Community Police Hearing Board, CPHB, back in 2010. And the mayor has revised that order on several occasions. And that order tracks the process of the handling of complaints. Since that order, the mayor has also submitted a ordinance to formalize that order into a city law, more than just an executive order from the mayor, but an ordinance that all bodies of government can get behind. In that document, one of the things the mayor is looking for is subpoena power to help strengthen the board's authority. That is pending with the city council. In addition, a written review of that executive order and the policies of the department are all contained in that evaluation that PERF did, a copy of which is online, a copy of which has been sent to all the counselors. And again, referencing the letter to Councilor Whitfield that summarizes some of the practices that we've done so far. And again, in accordance with the most recent evaluation by PERF of our policies, to make sure that they are in line with the standards of Massachusetts in the certification process. We are putting all of those together in a manual, and some of them have been done. I've sent you copies of the complete and total, but there's additionally numerous ones that are in draft forms we're working on. And as I said, the next one that's up is the IIU policy, and that'll be coming out in the next few weeks.
The next question is from Mary Friedman, which is what changes in any officer training have been instituted? I'll try that.
You've done a lot.
Yeah, there's been a lot done, and mostly officer training. I don't know if people realize we have to meet standards. Most of our training is done as prescribed by the Massachusetts Police Training Council, the MPTC, and we have to meet those standards on a yearly basis. The officers have to qualify with their weapons twice a year. The officers have to go through 40-hour in service once a year. The academy itself is 800 hours, and it's curriculum that we have to meet. We have very limited time to put in our own structure of training, but we have done that. We have done it before roll call. I have done it via Zoom with some commanding officers. We have through different orders and memos asking officers to look at this or to watch this video or to get up to speed on that. So most of what we do, probably 90% of what we do, is directed by the Massachusetts Police Training Council. It's standards that we have to meet. It's requirements that we have to meet. It covers a whole variety of fields, from use of force to medical and mental health. And we've added a lot of our own with mental health and illness, and because it's a problem that we're popping up, especially with COVID. There are a lot of mental health issues out there in our community. For one reason or another, they can't be surrounded by loved ones to talk to people. They can't get the doctor's appointments and see people. So there's a lot of issues out there. We instituted the CIT training, crisis intervention training. The officers go through that. That's a week long. Recognize the difference between mental illness and a health episode. We have instituted BHN, Behavioral Health Network, in our officers. Some of these mental calls are so difficult for the officers, and the remedies we have limited. We're very limited in what we can do and how we can.
Many of these officers need some mental health assistance themselves.
So it's been a terrific program. We're now up to 4 clinicians that actually go with, respond, and can take over the call from the police officers. Put the police officers in
mental health illness or issues and having a.
And as the mayor mentioned before, I think getting with this custody protect program will help the officers and people in custody greatly, because it's been very difficult for us to see the difference between mental health illness and issues, having a health episode, or you're diabetic, or you're schizophrenic. Are you having a drug addiction episode? So being able to monitor people in custody, I think, will help us out greatly. So we've been doing all that recently, and I hope to continue. As I see the new curriculum come out after the police reform bill, we'll see a little more leeway to add some of our own courses that we feel are needed on a low level.
If I could just add a few things. One of the things the commissioner is working on, and I don't know how close we are, maybe we get some status, but is a sort of executive training as people are promoted to a rank position like sergeant, lieutenant, deputy, is a curriculum on our own. So this is not a state standard. So that people that become managers learn the skills that a police officer, a supervisor police officer can use to bring to bear to help in the accountability that's required from our supervisors. And I'm sure the commission will talk of that. Another thing that has happened is we talked about the DOJ report. One of the things that Commissioner did when she became commissioner, she asked that I go to the police academy to expand on the training with regard to some of these civil liability issues we're talking about. In addition, Attorney Talia G is also speaks at the academy. In addition, that training has changed. My presentation has changed, particularly since the DOJ report came out, to point out some of those items that are emphasized in the DOJ report, and we try to emphasize those and to provide strategies in particular reporting and recording those types of matters that can be critical when it comes to litigation issues or citizens and how to deal with these issues and document those issues and try to make sure that we can avoid them as we move forward. So that's some of the items that I can just add.
So in essence, what he said is, we go and we give a pep talk at the academy to cadets and say, don't crack no black people upside the head, and all will be well. That's basically what he said. Talia G comes in, I come in, and we encourage y'all not to crack black people upside the head. And that's part of your training curriculum. So we're supposed to have confidence that that's going to change the attitudes of police.
And that makes everything go away. That makes everything better, which is why she doesn't see systemic racism, because she has colored people coming in and talking to her officers.
Right, exactly. So if I can have black people, Talia G, she's a new attorney, she's black. Let's bring her in. So I black people in to talk to my officers, and that should take care of the whole
Makes
problem.
all the problems go away. That's their training. That's the extent of the training. You know, she doesn't see it. She doesn't get it. She's never gotten it. She's been a part of the problem throughout her duration on the Springfield Police Department. And to expect any changes now is absolutely insane. But this is when the community has to step up and really force the mayor's hand. It's just not. It didn't happen when I was there. It's not happening now. He's not being inundated with phone calls. He's not receiving massive amounts of letters with people expressing their concern. We have people, you know, jumping in photos with the man as opposed to holding him accountable.
Yeah.
We got to hold him accountable.
Yeah, that's the problem. Too many Negroes want to take pictures and don't want to lose their access to them. So
Absolutely.
they're not willing to say do anything.
Yep.
And you know, have been going back and forth. We want to make sure that we have this done thoroughly, as we've done with all the other ones so far. So those have come up, and you can look for that by mid-January.
Again, this is an important subject. COVID-19 has engulfed us, and many times that takes precedent with our protection and of our workforce and being able to continue to carry out full city operations to the best of our abilities. But the COVID-19 has taken precedent in any and all activities that we are continuing to put forth in the city of Springfield in order to not only our workforce, but for the residents and the business. Attorney G.
The next question is from Cynthia Butler, which asks, the police reform has been approved by the House and Senate. Charlie Baker cannot speak on the specifics until it has been reviewed. The question is, what will be vetoed and amended, if you could tell us?
I think the governor, I think the governor has the answer that question. I cannot tell you how the governor might done certain things or what are beneficial and what things might have to be tweaked, but we really can't do that.
Just from a perspective, I believe the governor has sent back the legislation, and his suggestions are being considered. One of the things I know is Attorney General Maura Healy raised questions as to specific language. I believe two of the items were with regard to chokehold, and another was the language with regard to qualified immunity. She saw concerns there from a legal perspective. And
See, this is when your ignorance kicks in, because immunity was taken completely out of the legislation that was passed by the House and the Senate. And so the governor's comments back to the legislature did have to do with facial recognition. It had to do with the post commission, had to do with training, had nothing to do with qualified immunity because it's not even in the bill. But that's what you get when you get a city solicitor like Ed Pakula.
Next question is from an anonymous attendee, which asks, are all police cars equipped with live cameras? Since when?
Police vehicles themselves are not equipped with cameras. When the city of Springfield several years ago started to look at dash cameras for the cruiser, we made a decision to go with the body cameras to follow the officers on the call. So we have invested in body cameras for all the officers. The vehicles are not equipped.
Yeah, that was a decision that I felt was important to take on the momentum. You're going to do it, go the whole 9 yards. I wanted body cameras. And that's what we've done. And the largest department in Massachusetts, if not the largest department in New England, or one of the largest Northeast that are fully equipped.
So Dom keeps beating his chest over body cameras. Now, here's my thing. Here's my thing. You got 17 officers currently under indictment by the state. You got a convict on the force right now who was convicted 2 months ago. You have a DOJ report, and you are being called by major outlets as one of the worst police departments in the nation, and you're beating your chest over body cameras. I'm not understanding.
Yeah, he's still in tornado mode, bro. He's still in that tornado mode where he starts anything that he thinks he did positive, he's going to say it 1,000 times, but he's not going to address anything controversial.
What we're doing is
We got body cameras. We don't convict any police officers, but we got body cameras. You know, our IIU always finds no probable cause. We're in cahoots with the district attorney not to prosecute anybody, and so you have to go all the way to the state, to the attorney general, just to get police charged with anything. But we got body cameras. Absolutely amazing. This is insane.
Affect you and your career. I have gone through it. Talk highly. It gives you confidence and courage to not only monitor your own behavior with individuals, but to monitor those that you work with, and to understand that you're going to be held accountable for somebody else's action if you could have stopped it. And that's for supervisors also, to have the courage to make the decision to do the right thing in the right circumstances. So we're pressing that training. I think that's one of the best ones out there. Certainly do take everybody's, I do get emails from officers directly and are acted upon, and the officers know that. So I think it's building a confidence throughout the department that they can come forward and let us know if they see a problem.
Thank you, Commissioner.
The next question is from Junior, which is, what is being done to stop officers from firing shots near residential dwellings? Main Street incident where individual was fleeing, an officer fired unnecessary shots in front of Medina. I'm not sure of the situation you're referring to, Commissioner Pino.
I'm not sure of the situation, but the officers are under strict rules, regulations, and guidelines on when they can fire their weapons, and the situation probably wouldn't take into account where they are at the time. It's either deadly force is allowed or deadly force is not.
Yeah, we don't know what materials.
Thank you. The next question is from Councilor Tim Allen, which says, could you review the timeline of changes in the next few months? I just heard policy procedures in mid-January. That's great. Is there any thought to offering community training on these changes, like the Citizen Police Academy? Commissioner, I don't know if in your answer you want to talk about the Citizen Police Academy.
Sure. Yeah. Timmy, most of these policy procedures are continually being updated. As you know, we've hired Ms. Judy Crowell, and she's done great work with the Springfield Police Department policies and procedures. And what she's been doing is she's been going through each one painstakingly and applying the standards as suggested by the Mass Accreditations Bureau. And what she's done is she's taken all our old policies and procedures, put in the standards, updated them, and then given them to the captains and bureaus affected to see what applies to us now. So we're going through that now. She's got about 15 done, probably 90 in the queue waiting to come out, waiting for other commanders to review. The IIU, how we keep referring to, is one of them. So they're coming out on a continual basis. I think you'll see a lot out January, February, and March. And we're trying, the goal was to achieve accreditation for the Springfield Police Department. And that is still the goal. Unfortunately, the main obstacle with accreditation is the building itself. So to say that we cannot get into a new building anytime soon is probably more the truth than not. So we can achieve certification, which is something we would have to have before you get the accreditation status anyway. So that's where Judy is. She's hitting all the standards and all these policies and procedures so that we can achieve certification. Somewhat few or less points than the accreditation, but something we could definitely strive for and should be able to achieve. So as she goes through the policies, puts in the standards, cleans them up a little bit, gets rid of policies and procedures that no longer affect us, like meter maids and horses that we don't have anymore that are still on our books. So let's get rid of the meter maids and the horses. And it updates these standards. She passes them out to those affected. They review them. It's coming back, and we're getting the policies out there. So I think through online and the city's website, you're gonna get a lot more of these policies and procedures as their update come out in 2021. Hopefully it's a much better year and I can actually talk to you without a mask on and get things done. So I think you'll see some improvement, and it's a process. It's ongoing. And the best thing going, as you know, is the Citizens Police Academy that's run by our academy. And what it does is it meets weekly. It lets citizens exactly what officers go through, exactly what our roles are in the community, exactly what the different bureaus do, what the crime scene search people do, what crime analysis does. We got a lot going on, and it's very difficult to talk about in one meeting setting.
So this is about what they go through.
For several weeks.
This ain't about the DOJ report and the systemic racism and brutality in the police department. According to this commissioner, this is about the community understanding what they go through.
And a lot of insight into the men and women that work there.
I know that.
So you see what the priority is, right? Right, people?
Participating in the Citizens Police Academy, wonderful, but they also, boy, this was an eye-opener on both sides of the issue. So if you can do it, it's very advantageous, and you will learn a lot.
And I was hoping to have more information about the Citizens Police Academy for this meeting, but when I reached out to, I was told that it's not happening because
It's COVID, we can't do it.
I don't have a room.
Yeah, so hopefully, as Commissioner said, hopefully next year it'll be safe for all of us to participate. And we'll have, once that's available, we'll make sure we publish that information for everyone. So Council, thank you for your question. The next question is from Junior, which asks, over the years, there's been a lot of collateral damage controlled by the city. We, the citizens, appreciate the continuous effort, but we'd like more preventative efforts and strict misconduct consequences. Again, we appreciate the urgency in which you guys are taking to better policies. Just like to see demeanor and action changes in officers. Does this administration commit to doing more, even after tension with BLM, which I think stands for Black Lives Matter?
Well, I think that our actions have been very publicized of what we've done to move the city forward. So that's well documented, our commitment so that any and all of our citizens are treated in a respectful manner.
Thank you. And so that is, Councilor Allen just commented that he attended the Citizens Police Academy a few years ago, that it was terrific. And Junior asked a question about whether the policies that the commissioner was speaking of are new. And I think some of them are new.
Wow.
Yes, most of
I love to hear your comments, those of you who are streaming.
Most are outdated. As far as like use of force,
I love to hear what you got to say.
The policies are on the books, and the police officers know the rules and regs of the department, and they're going forward. They need to be updated. They needed to be revamped. But if it's new equipment or a new way of doing things, like the body-worn cameras, those are all new. You know, we didn't have anything.
You need to be updated and revamped. We need a new commissioner.
There are two people with their hand raised. I'll go to City Councilor Malo Brown. Councilor Brown, I'm going to make you a panelist, so again, you're going to have.
Let's see what Malo has to say. I hope Malo gives them the business.
All right, Councilor Brown, you're now a panelist.
Let's see if Malo's going to give them the business. Give them the business downtown at the mural, the painting of the mural. Let's see if he gives them the business now.
Yes, I want to. First I want to thank you, Mayor, for always being able to come to the table. I want to thank Judge Ireland and Commissioner Clapproot, and of course Talia, and my favorite Helen. You know, I have to mention you.
All right, is this going to be bootlicking, or are you going to get down to the business?
Congratulations to my close friend and brother, LeVar Click, and Choice on, yeah, I think I can cross him over.
Good pickup, Mal. Good pickup.
He can't get me. He can't do it, me. What I want to really commend the administration on is
Are you serious, Marlo?
The aspect of dealing with Brother Johnny. He's been working in our area for a long time, and he's right there. He's right there. His organization is right there. Boots actually on the street. I do commend you on picking up Brother Johnny. I would want more people to even support him even more. I wanted to see, is there a way we can add the churches, dealing with a lot of the churches in the community? Is there a way we emphasize that even a little bit more? Me coming from a big family of church ministers and things, I really would like to add the church aspects and the police. Is there a way we
so here's what I perceive is problematic in this. For those of you that are watching, Brother Brown was upset about a personal issue with the police when we were at the painting of the mural, and he let him have it. This time, I guess he's feeling a little good now. Congratulating everybody, patting everybody on the back. Kudos to everybody, yada, yada, yada. Problem is when our elected officials, particularly our Black elected officials, okay, when they have a falling out with the mayor, then they want to be critical. Then they want to get back into good graces, and there's no consistency in terms of them staying with the community and putting the pressure on this administration to do the right thing. How the hell is Marlo Brown, and yes, I said it, y'all can tell him I said it, because I don't mince words, going to be on here congratulating everybody when we got 17 officers under indictment? When we've got a DOJ report that says Springfield is one of the worst departments in the nation with systemic brutality against Black people, brown people, and non-white people. When we got a convicted officer on the force right now for beating a 14-year-old Black boy and lying on the police report, and the best we can get from our city councilors, from our Black city councilors, is jump on this thing and congratulate everybody in the room.
Before they go home.
Are you serious?
I think that's important. The chaplains agreed with that. They were enthusiastic about it, and I'm grateful they got on board. So I'm sure they're going to get on board with me. As soon as things can clear up a little bit, we can meet in person. Maybe I can get them to spread the word that the police department is there for the individual churches and parishes to get more so involved.
Yes, and I'll just also add that when I first came on as Chief Diversity Inclusion Officer, I reached out to the churches and made connections there. And I continue to work with recruiting with the churches, especially for police and fire. I have since been working on some economic development projects, as well as this, building community police relations. And so at the start of the new year, I'll actually be circling back to reaching out to the churches about some of those efforts as well as the city councilor. So Councilor Brown, thank you for your comment, and I'll be in touch after the holidays are done, so that if you have any other suggestions like that regarding stakeholders, we can certainly take that into consideration.
And I had one more question. I had a few police officers who were kind of nervous about the actual the COVID. Are they going to be required to take the shot?
There's no mandatory requirement, Counselor. I put out some information to all the officers so that they understand perfectly the vaccine, the side effects, what it can do, what it can't do. So I've been given that information. I thank Bay State, Dr. Kerouac, and Mercy, Dr. Roos. They've given me some good information to give the officers. But at this time, we're not going to look for a mandate. We're going to look for voluntary participation, and from what I'm hearing, I think I get about a 70% participation at this time. So between the officers that are waiting to see how others this will affect them, and new vaccines coming out all the time, hopefully in the spring, most of us will be participating in the vaccination process.
And Council Brown, just so you know, I've been asked about that and leading by example, and when the time comes for me, I will take that vaccine shot and lead by example on that.
Thank you. I want to thank you guys. You guys stay safe. Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I also just want to recognize Councilor Michael Fenton, who is participating as an attendee and made his comments in the chat. We appreciate your comments and your participation. And I'm not sure if I missed any other councilors who might be attending as who may be viewing or attending, but Councilor Letterman, also want to recognize you. Thank you for participating and for attending today. And there was a question from Facebook which asked, how can citizens obtain body-worn camera footage as part of a citizen's complaint? And I think that there might be a little bit of confusion about what a citizen's complaint is really for. So a citizen's complaint is a citizen issuing a complaint about conduct of an officer. And that complaint is then reviewed by the Community Police Hearing Board, investigated by folks at the Springfield Police Department. That's a vehicle for basically voicing a complaint and asking ultimately the commissioner to do something about the officer's alleged misconduct. I hope that answered that question. And if there are no more, I don't see any more attendees with their hands raised, and I don't see any more questions. So
I'm gonna ask Judge Ireland, again, whose wisdom, advice, guidance has been invaluable to me and my administration and the police department, to first start to close this out. I know he and I look forward to our next forum, which
Bro Stokes, we're gonna let Ireland close this out and then have some last minute conversation about this dog and pony show and this farce that we just
Justice of the Massachusetts State Supreme Court, Springfield native, Judge Roderick Ireland. Judge Ireland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I think we're all in this for the same reason. We want to see Springfield in its best existence for the police department, and we want to build community trust and confidence. We want the citizens to know that we're open to hearing their feedback. We want to know what the citizens think. I'm very encouraged that we're working together. It pleases me that the city council is joining with us. We invite people. It doesn't end when today's session is over. We're saying, if you have a beef, let us know. And at the same time, if we're doing something good, let us know that too. But our ultimate goal is to be able to say we're doing everything that we're able to do to make the Springfield Police Department something we can all be proud of. So thank you for coming out today. I found today a very good session, and I look forward to the next one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Wow. What's your initial response, bro Stokes? Hold on. Let me get them off, because oh man, this mess has been wow.
This was a very good session. It was good give and take, pro and con.
Let me get these folks out of here.
Is that we're able to really address and answer, I believe, all of your questions, because sometimes because of legalities or ongoing investigations or personnel matter, we cannot. But I think today we were able to address a lot of the questions openly and transparently and honestly. And that's tremendous progress. I want to thank everybody involved putting this together. Focus Springfield, my old halfback, Steve Carey and Brendan Holland, my internal staff, Billy Baker, Norman Shea, Attorney Julia G, wonderful Large Flick. I appreciate that. I appreciate Commissioner Clapp.
All right, I had to get them out of here because, man, what's your initial reaction to this?
My initial reaction is, the mayor once again has devised a way to do nothing for police brutality in our community and police reform in our community. First of all, for him not having the NAACP, yourself, and others who have been at the forefront of this, again, is disrespectful. And like, I want to let everybody know that my background with the Springfield Police Department is intensive. They beat me on the corner of Burr and Cambridge Street, and when I woke up in York Street, by God's grace and permission, I had defecation all over myself. And it was done by John Delaney and others. And so this is a 40 or 50-year history of the Springfield Police Department and the District Attorney's Office being corrupt in our community. The guy who received the $6.7 million, myself and others, just for clarity's sake, because I always try to be honest, the guy was trying to rob me that night that Vicky Seymour was killed at the After 5. And what the Springfield Police Department, the District Attorney's Office with Francis Bloom, Terrence Dunphy, and the rest of them did, it was something reprehensible. And one day I hope to be able to tell the story. I finally saw Mark Shan. We was in Walpole together, and as Ben Crump would tell everybody, it was me that was the person who was more responsible for getting him out. So I just wanted to put that out there for clarity's sake, and to be honest and open with the community. But this here is how this has been done since the 70s. And Delaney, Breer, Latta, Ledoux, Ashwell, Lieutenant Kelly, Lenny Scammons, and all the rest of them have been doing this brutalizing and beating on the Black and brown community since 1975, when I first thought I was going to be a professional career criminal, was going to get rich. And so when I hear the mayor talking, I hear him supporting a 40-year legacy, and they don't have any intentions on straightening this out unless we get a new mayor, Bishop.
Yeah. New mayor, new commissioner. We need to clean house. We need to clean house. You know, two things I really want to hit on, Brother Stokes, that really bothered me about this whole exchange. The first thing is, as you know, I've called on consistently for the dismissal of Cheryl Clapprood as commissioner. She's unfit. She's a Brady cop. She's lied on police reports. She's tried to protect those who lie on police reports. She reinstated 5 officers who were under indictment for lying on police reports. Tried to keep them on the force. There's a convicted cop on the force now that she has not fired, yet she fires a Latino woman over a social media post. She came to the defense of the officer who beat a Black man at the police department, completely caught on film right there in the lobby of headquarters. Defended him, defended another one who beat a Black man outside the police department. So on every front, she defends crooked cops, is part of the problem, has a sordid history herself. She told me herself that they don't have a problem with police brutality in the Springfield Police Department. That the problem is black boys up in the hood in gangs. And then this morning at a city forum, she said in no uncertain terms, there is no systemic racism in the department. There is no. Now, how can we go forward with a commissioner who is supposed to be trying to reform a police? What the hell are you trying to reform if you're claiming there's no systemic racism in the department? Because if there was no systemic racism in the department, we wouldn't have a problem with police beating black and brown people upside the head. So if she's saying there's no systemic racism, then you got nothing to reform, but she's over the reform?
Absolutely. And when she said that to you, one of the things that is crucial is we tell our children, we tell our loved ones, don't lie, right? Because if you lie, there are repercussions for your lying. We're holding our children to a higher standard than a police commissioner. And she's a liar. She's on the force. She said to you there was no systemic racism, but there was a gang problem, which means that they want to go forward with the legacy of 50 years of brutality in our community. And what he is really saying is that he doesn't give a damn about what black people think and feel, as long as he can get black people in the picture who he can tout as, I have him on my side, I have her on my side, that keeps us from being able to, how do I say this? We don't want to attack one another. We want to not allow this enemy to divide us. And so they don't have any intentions, Bishop, of doing anything for our community. And until we as a community get together and say, okay, we're not going to let this mayor divide us, and we're going to vote him out of office, because as we see, he has become tone deaf and insensitive towards black and brown people's plight in this city.
Yeah. The other thing, you know, black people who represent us have got to represent us, especially when we are ones who put them in office. Now, I get it. I've been around here a long time, as have you. And I get the ones like they're above the black community and I can get into office without the black community. I don't need y'all. I don't need to stand with y'all. I get it, because there's some that we can't depend on. And that's just the way it is. I get that. And I think we need to hold them accountable. And come this election, this coming year, I'm going to be more active in terms of, I'm not running for office, but I'm going to be more active in my voice being heard in these various wards and these various races than ever have been before. Because we cannot continue to allow people who should be standing for us to sit quietly. Where the hell has Melvin Edwards been in all of this? And then tonight, and I'll tell him, and I have no problem. I'm friends with his boss. I have no disrespect. This is not personal. But how dare Counselor Marlo Brown get on here this morning and congratulate everybody in the room? Congratulations to the mayor and to the commissioner and to this one and to that one and the other one, and talk about everybody doing such a great job, and thank you for bringing Brother Johnny on, and blah, 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 skipping by who, while we got 17 indicted officers, while we got a scathing DOJ report that says Springfield is one of the worst departments in the nation, while we got a convicted cop who's still on the force for beating the hell out of a 14-year-old black boy at Commerce High School, while we have daily and weekly reports coming in to the NAACP, at least, claiming police brutality still existing in this city and still abusing our citizens. And we got a black city councilor giving high fives and kudos to this farce of a process that's going on. We can't stand for that kind of stuff. I don't care if they hired Brother Johnny. I don't care if they hired your mama. I don't care if they hired your granddaddy or whoever. This department is corrupt. And then that happened after the commissioner said there's no systemic racism in this department. Why wouldn't he hold her accountable for that? Why was there no pushback to say, you know, with all due respect, Commissioner, you said there's no systemic racism in this department. Instead of high-fiving and giving everybody kudos, we need people who are going to stand up and speak truth to power.
Well, Bishop, that's one of the confusing and confounding situations that we have is a lot of black political people in our city. They look at the elections and they see that we don't vote as much as the white community. And a lot of them are beholden to the white community because they believe that the white community puts them in office. And so they don't want to do anything.
Yeah, but Councilor Brown is a Ward 4 counselor. Now okay, and
I know.
Michael Ann Busey and a number of others are the ones who worked for 12 long years to bring ward representation to this city so people like him could sit on the city council. So that we could have a representative from a majority black ward. So this brother is elected by the majority of the people that elect him are black people. So he's not one of those who can count up the votes and say, you know, white folk got me in office, so I don't need to speak for black people.
Well, I guess that we can put it on his fear of offending them. A lot of us have Stockholm syndrome. A lot of us are faced with this undeniable idea that as long as we don't upset white people, everything is all right. And Brother Malo has said some other things, that our community is the ghetto and that we need to have people in our community as the ghetto. You have Melvin Edwards, who during the marijuana dispensary debate, I was down there and they hired Delaney to do security for a marijuana dispensary. And I got kind of loud and disruptive, and Melvin Edwards called the police on me. And Adam Gomez and City Council President Justin Hurst walked me out to make sure that nothing escalated. And so these are the black faces that we have in office that, excluding Tracy Whitfield, we don't see a lot of the black other elected officials that have the statistical fortitude to stand up for the black community and to speak on our behalf. And I don't know what it is about the muzzle being on their mouths. And, you know, and for the mayor, this is what gets me, Bishop, when the mayor says, I want to thank Johnny Muhammad and the mission for being behind me. I want to say thank you to Brother LeVar Click. He is using their names to let us know, this is who we got. Now Bishop Swan, now Charles Stokes, now David Lewis and Terry Porter. What are you going to do now?
See, he wants to one try to lend credibility to his fake crusade of police reform by using those names of people who have typically been out in the community. So this is the game that they play. This is the game that they play. If I can take Johnny Muhammad off of the chessboard, if I can take him off the table, because You know, for years he has been a staunch advocate for police reform, has stood with Brother Swan and Brother Stokes and others. If I can take him off the board, if I can give him a contract, I take that chess piece off the board. If I can take Brother Click off the board or take this one off the board, then that thins the number of local advocates who can speak without fear of having resources, a job, a contract, or something taken from them, because I know how vindictive this mayor is.
Yeah.
He took a CDBG contract from my church 10 years ago or during his first term as mayor, because I had the audacity to speak against him taking the towing contract from the first ever black contractor to hold it and to give it to a crook, the owner of CJ's Towing, to give it to CJ's Towing. And
Right.
me and a number of others spoke against that action publicly. And so he took my CDBG contract. But I wasn't for sale. And you weren't going to get me to come back begging because you took $15,000 away from me. I'm worth more than 15G. You can't buy me for 15G. So I said, you know what? I'll never apply for another dime from this city, because you will never have a contract or any level of resources that you give to me to hold over my head to keep me quiet or to buy my silence. But that's what they do. They try to buy your silence and hold that carrot that, you know, now if you get out of line, if you say something, then, you know, it's going to jeopardize this. And so, you know, listen, I love my brother, Brother
That's
Johnny. Me and Brother Johnny go back 40 years, but I understand the compromising position that puts him in, that if he stands as staunchly as he has in the past, with this mayor, you know, it puts in jeopardy the work that he's doing, and the resources that he gets from the city on it. And so he was very deliberate about using Brother Johnny's name, because basically his message to us was, I've taken the Nation of Islam out the game.
Well, hold on. Let me say this. I am a member of the Nation of Islam. I have been a member of the Nation of Islam since 1982. Brother Johnny Muhammad and what he is doing does not represent the Nation of Islam or
Correct.
the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Correct. And I know that, and you know that. But the message the mayor is sending to the people by using the name of Johnny Muhammad, because he knows that the people in this city are automatically going to associate his name with the nation.
Absolutely. You're right, sir. But I just wanted to clarify that this is Brother Johnny's nonprofit organization, Mission Inc., that's doing that wants to do the work in the community. And I don't
see what happens is they're very slick and strategic in what they do. They know if they use the name Bishop Swan, that people are automatically going to connect me to NAACP or to my church. They know that they're going to automatically hitch the organizations that I represent to their narrative simply by using my name. And that's what they're doing by trying to use the name of Brother Johnny.
I absolutely agree. And you know, like, this is why I thank Almighty God that I am independent. I have my own economic base. I am not dependent on anybody. And I thank God that he put me in that position so that I can speak freely about what's going on in our community. And like the mayor, I have been asking to meet with him. And then when I finally got a call from the office, I said to him, well, if you're going to the office, well, if you're going to speak with me, then you have to speak with the person who has been in the forefront of this all along, and that is Bishop Talbot Swan. So you can't meet with me without meeting with Bishop Talbot Swan. You can't meet with me without meeting with Dave Lewis from ADMA. You can't meet with just me personally and not meet with the men and women who have been in the forefront of all of the fights for freedom, justice, and equality for Black people. And when I said that, I have not heard back from them again. I was starting my own nonprofit, and somebody told me that no matter what you do, the mayor is not going to deal with you, Brother Stokes. He really hasn't a feel for you because of some of the things that you have said about him being, he got offended that I called him Dominic Trump. Because
the mayor has a thin skin. And therein lies the problem. You cannot be the mayor of a medium-sized city, the largest city in Western Massachusetts, with the type of systemic problems that we have in our city, and have a thin skin and get upset every time someone says something about you or your administration that you don't agree with, and then you have a temper tantrum. He's very Trumpish in the way that he acts. Listen, I get critiqued all of the time, brother. I get death threats on a weekly basis. I get white supremacists from all over the nation, especially anytime Fox News covers anything I do, I get a barrage of consistent death threats and all kinds of stuff. And listen, you got to have a thick skin and be able to roll with the punches and not be vindictive. You can't decide you're going to take a contract from everybody who disagrees with you, or you ain't going to speak to them for 6 months or whatever the case. He hasn't spoken to me since the beginning of this pandemic, since George Floyd incident, and when we started protesting all over the city because he doesn't like what I have said about his police department, about needing to fire this commissioner, about systemic racism in this city. So rather than deal with the person who represents the most prominent civil rights organization in the nation, I just ain't gonna talk to him at all. And see what black people have to get to is that doesn't just represent a disrespect to Bishop Swan. Right. That's a disrespect to the black community, period. That never in a million years would he decide, I'm not going to talk to the Roman Catholic bishop because I'm upset with him. He would never piss off the white community like that. But he can do that with the black community because we allow that level of disrespect.
Because of our division, because of because of our profound sense of love and humanity, some of us believe that there's a way that you can say something without being offensive. And I'm saying what you're saying. If you can reinstate 5 police officers or more who beat somebody at Nathanville, you can allow a police officer to work in a school that beat up a young black man, but you fire a Latino police officer for putting up a Facebook post. You can fire Daryl Moss, who for 12 years have stood by you to make sure that the community was represented. You can fire them, but keep on rogue police officers, and then you cannot talk to Bishop Swan, and black people will say, well, maybe if you talk right, then he will, as if what we are addressing shouldn't be addressed. And if we address it in a way that's going to make this enemy, this devil, feel good.
Right. So we have to address systemic racism, police brutality, our lives being endangered by not offending our oppressors. The audacity of black people to think like that we have to be non-offensive. Listen, beating black folks upside the head is offensive. Beating up 14-year-old black boys in school is offensive. Beating the hell out of black men at Nathanville is offensive. Bringing back indicted officers onto the police force is offensive. So as offensive as they are to us, we got the nerve to think we ought to be non-offensive in the way that we push back against our oppression in order for massa to talk to us. Well, that ain't me. I'm not built like that. I'm not built in a manner in which I'm going to mince words and be nice and not offensive and worry about your white fragility and your white sensibilities when it comes to the brutality of Black people.
Absolutely, sir. I think that, and I think that there's a group of people, Bishop, that's the next generation under us that has been out here. That generation of people are really about the smoke. They really are about change. They just need some guidance and direction. But there's a group of us who are just so afraid. And then after they see what happened to Daryl Moss, for Brother LeVar, and I don't mean no disrespect, for him to take the job, not understanding the political game that was being played, or to have Brother Daryl found out that that the brother got the job when I called him and told him through some sources that the brother was going to take the job, didn't even call him. And for these things to go on, and you have Helen Carlton, you have all of those Black people around him who are not holding him accountable, because if they were holding him accountable, he still wouldn't be. You have a lying Brady cop officer who lied and said there's not systemic racism. For her to be able to utter those words shows us where she's at with us.
Exactly. That, I mean, that right there, if nothing else, that should have shut down that whole session right there. At that point in time, every single, at least the Black folks, every single Black person who came on after that, the first thing they should have challenged her on was having the audacity to say there's no systemic racism in that department. That's crazy.
That was literally like, and I'm saying this purposely, like spitting in our face. That's exactly what that was to us. And we're not supposed to wipe the spit off of our face because it may be inappropriate to the person who spit on us. And this is what's going on. And when we can clearly see this, and not beating up on Black people, because we understand white supremacy and how it impacts us as a nation, some of us.
Mm-hmm.
It is the hardest fight that we have, Bishop Swan, is getting our people to understand that we are at war, and that this war takes a certain type of people to fight this war. And they're not giving us an inch. He's the mayor. He is the face that's in front of a movement. He won't talk about qualified immunity. He will not talk about breaking up the Springfield Police Union. He won't talk about any of those things that you have been talking about for the last 5 years on this issue. And he won't even acknowledge that there is a problem. And yet and still, when he runs for mayor, you will see Black people holding up signs for him.
Yep. And they'll be out there at the cookout, eating watermelon with him, shaking hands and all that kind of stuff. Listen, bro, Stokes, man, always a pleasure, man. We've got a virtual press conference in response to this that's coming on at 12:30. So I gotta get off this line. But we're definitely gonna get you back on, man, because I enjoyed the commentary, and there's so much more that we need to say about this stuff, bro.
Yes, sir, brother. And listen, I always tell you this, and I don't say this to be joking. If them crackers think they're gonna come down here, any of them, and do anything to you, they gotta listen. Jesus had followers who wasn't with him.
Mm-hmm.
They was on the sideline. If you have done something to Jesus, you would have saw some people. If they do something to you or try to do something to you and your family, they're gonna see some people, man.
Yes, sir.
That's all.
I appreciate you, bro.
You, sir, take it easy.
All right, peace. All right, people, listen, I got to go. I'm going to be joining in with the Pioneer Valley Project momentarily, so keep your eyes tight. Matter of fact, go to their website right now. Soon as I get off, Pioneer Valley Project, we're going to be doing a live virtual press conference response to this dog and pony show that you just saw, the mayor's public forum on police reform. So I got to get out of here. I don't even have time to play no bunch of music and any of that kind of stuff. I just got to go, y'all. I got to go. So listen, be back with me on Monday. We're going to do this conversation around police reform on Monday at 9 o'clock on the spoken word. So stay with us, and we'll see you soon. God bless. Peace.